The Puck Portfolio with Andy McNeil.
Hey, welcome to the Puck Portfolio. It is Tuesday, April 15th. The regular season is winding down. I'm your host, Andy McNeil, and joining me, as always, DFO's Nick Martin. Nick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Yep. Regular season is winding down. You said it's dragged a little bit here, but there's a couple interesting games on tonight's slate, so it should be a little more fun.
Yeah, for sure. Let's, I guess, start with the most interesting game after last night's shootout loss to the Chicago Blackhawks. The Columbus Blue Jackets are still alive because the Montreal Canadiens couldn't get the job done despite Ivan Demidov, his best effort, a goal and an assist in that game in his NHL debut, and did not see that one going that way. But the Blackhawks, I guess, relishing the opportunity to play spoiler on Monday. So now the Blue Jackets still alive here. They've got a chance as the last team in the Eastern Conference that can unseat the Canadiens out of that second wildcard spot. They've won 4 in a row, so they've done their part. But I mean, let's remember that they lost 12 of their previous 16 games before this 4-game win streak. So they've definitely done their part to get into this position as well. They could have easily had their destiny in their hands. But now they need a regulation win here on Tuesday in Philadelphia. And then they'll have to beat the Islanders in regulation on Thursday. And, of course, the Canadiens will have to lose to Carolina on Wednesday. The Blue Jackets, it might seem possible, and it is improbable, but not impossible. But they are listed at 10-1 to make the playoffs right now. So it kind of gives you an idea of what their chances are. They've gone 1-1-1 against the Flyers so far this season. Lost the first 2 meetings, one in regulation, one in overtime. They won in a shootout in the last meeting, but they've dropped 4 of their last 5 visits to Philadelphia. And they haven't been good on the road this year. They've gone 13, 23, and 4 on the road, and they've got just 3 wins in their last 10 away from home. It's going to be Jet Greaves starting tonight for the Blue Jackets, and he's done good, filling in for the injured Elvis Merzlikins, who hasn't played since April 8th. Greaves has won 5 of his last 6 starts, including 3 in a row. So I guess an easy choice there, given Daniil Tarasov has lost his last 3 starts in a row. But yeah, I mean, a goaltender with 19 games of NHL experience going into a must-win game. What could go wrong, right? The Flyers.
Merzlikins gave them all year. This probably wouldn't be a must-win game if they didn't stick with him so long. But
true enough.
Yeah.
The Flyers, on the other hand, they've gone 5-1-1 since John Tortorella's firing back on March 27th. They've got nothing to play for here in the final 2 games, but clearly they're having fun, which is something you probably couldn't have said in the first 5 months of the NHL season, or 6 months, I guess. They've got a chance to play spoiler, obviously, here on Wednesday. Probably will give them a little bit of extra motivation. They were a tough out at home pretty much all season long. But they lost 6 of their last 7 home games under John Tortorella. So still, though, the Flyers 20-19-1 at home this season, and they've won all 4 home games under interim head coach Brad Shaw. Pretty good underlying numbers here for the Flyers, at least in terms of expected goals. They rank 3rd in expected goals against at 5-on-5 this season. Which suggests they've done a solid job, 3rd in expected goals against at 5-on-5 this season, which suggests they've done a pretty solid job of limiting quality chances. But only 5 teams have given up more goals, and that's been the Flyers' biggest problem all season long. But they've looked more average on defense, I guess you could say, since the coaching change. But the shift has seemingly sparked the offense, right? No team has scored more goals per 60 than the Flyers since the coaching change. Small sample size, 7 games, but I think it's something positive going into this game that they can at least seem to outscore their problems here. So I like the over here in this game. I mean, you've got the added situation of this being a must-win in regulation for the Blue Jackets. If they get in the situation where they're, down late in the game, they're going to have to pull the goalie. They really don't have a choice. And you could see them pulling it quite early here. This matchup has also gone 6-3-1 to the over in the last 10 meetings. Philly's 5-2 to the over since the coaching change. And I mean, both teams rank among the bottom 10 in goals against this season, and that hasn't really improved. And they've been among the top 5 teams on offense over the last 10 games, respectively. So I think this is a good spot to back the over 6 at -120, and that's one of the few plays that I like today, Nick.
Nice. Yeah. And then, yeah, you talked about it a little, but obviously an interesting wrinkle from a betting perspective that they have to win in regulation. I do think that's important. Columbus is, the line moved significantly last night, right down to the minute that Columbus had a chance to play or to win this game and get into the playoffs. So obviously people are buying into the must-win narrative. The regular game line is -140 right now. The regulation time win is +110. So I'd say at this point, if you're interested in Columbus, you obviously want to play that regulation line because you could get absolutely screwed if they pull the goalie late and push for a goal. So I would rather take the significantly better price if I was going to bet Columbus to bet them to win in regulation, because yeah, you could suffer some backdoor beats if they're going to pull the goalie in a tied game, which is pretty realistic. We saw it last year with the Flyers in their game 82 versus the Caps. And the books were pretty onto it. I remember I was watching the live lines carefully because it was a tied game. TJ Oshie ended up putting the Caps up with the empty netter. And obviously, typically, if a game's tied in the final 10 minutes, the price for any team to win in regulation is pretty long. So it is a good live betting opportunity. But based off last year, the books have come around on that. But I do think that's a thought to keep in mind, is that that's the smarter way to bet this. And maybe if you happen to be on a sports book that has live lines with Philly priced at a really long number to win in regulation in a late tied game, that would be something worth attacking, I'd say, because you should theoretically see Columbus pull their goalie in a tied game here if needed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an interesting game for sure. Another game that has some meaning tonight: the Vegas Golden Knights at the Calgary Flames. And you like a side in this one?
Yeah, I like the Flames. I think right now, locking it in and waiting to see what happens with Vegas lineup at +105 is fine. I think the Flames have played really well down the stretch. They've been a lot better defensively. They've done a good job, making games into a coin flip. Still can't score at all, but it is what it is. So I think +105 is fine without any news yet on, who Vegas will play. But I think you have the chance of that becoming a really good number, given that Vegas is playing for nothing. So we'll see how they want to handle it. Some players, when I sat beside Robin Regier at that Flames game, I actually asked him what he thought of resting down the stretch. He said he hated it. I think some players probably do hate it, but the injury risk is what it is. So I feel like you just shouldn't have those guys out there regardless. So we'll see how the Knights handle it, because they aren't playing for anything right now. So I wouldn't be playing guys if I were them. So there's a chance the Flames will luck out and play, a significantly worse Knights roster. But I think, if not the worst bet to have here either.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's tough at these last few days of the regular season. You don't know who's going to be resting and who's going to be in the lineup here, with a lot of these teams not having anything to play for. I mean, obviously the Los Angeles Kings had something to play for last night in Edmonton. They clinched home ice advantage, but might have come at a cost, because as Philip Deneau said in the intermission interview, the Oilers had their B squad out there just trying to hurt guys. And,
it worked out great for me with this strategy. I took the Wings early on Sunday, and I took the Kings pretty big. So I was pretty pumped when I saw that Oilers lineup.
Yeah. Let's get into a little bit of playoff talk here, since there isn't many storylines, regular season storylines left to talk about. And I guess let's start with the Oilers and the Kings. As I mentioned, the Kings clinched home ice on Monday with that shutout win over the Oilers. That's back-to-back shutout wins over Edmonton for the Kings in their final two meetings of the season. So we've talked about it, how home ice doesn't mean a whole lot in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But this LA Kings team has been nearly unbeatable at home this season. 31-5-4. Just a crazy home record. So maybe it means something here for the Kings, who are in their best position to beat the Oilers in the playoffs that they've been in the past 4 seasons. Looking back at 2022, Edmonton was a -230 series favorite. The Oilers were a -280 series favorite in 2023, and -215 series favorite last year in 2024. Of course, they defeated the Kings in 5 games in 2024, 6 games in 2023, and 7 games in 2022. But looking at the series prices here for this upcoming matchup, Edmonton -140 favorite. The Kings on the other side at +120. So big change in terms of how the betting market is viewing this matchup. And Darcy Kemper has to be a big part of that. I mean, Edmonton's injuries are concerning. They're not going to have Matthias Ekholm for the entirety of the first round, and they've had to deal with a slew of injuries. Obviously, Leon Draisaitl still out. Several other players still dealing with something. Not sure what that game one lineup is going to look like, but Kemper, I mean, he's been unbelievable this year. He ranks second in save percentage and goals saved above expected among goaltenders that have faced at least 1,500 unblocked shot attempts, according to Evolving Hockey, and that's going to be a big thing that the Kings didn't have in previous years. Offensively, I guess there's still some concerns when it comes to LA. You talked about it in the past, how their power play dried up in previous matchups versus the Oilers, and they aren't the most potent team on the power play. But they've never had this level of goaltending heading into the playoffs, not since prime Jonathan Quick years. So I think the Kings are in a great spot here to beat the Oilers. We talked about liking LA in the futures market a couple of weeks ago. They're down to 18-1 now to win the Stanley Cup this season. I still think it's appealing. I think they've got a lot of the tools needed to go on a deep run. So I could definitely see them doing that. But any thoughts on this one from a betting perspective, or just thoughts in general?
Yeah, I didn't have as many thoughts on this one. I feel like it's kind of adjusted fairly. Obviously, the Oilers are beat up. The Ekholm confirmation sucks because he's been so good for them the last postseason. He was excellent. So I think it's moved to more or less a fair number. I'd probably still lean with maybe even backing the Kings to have a lead after 3 games or whatever it is. But I'm pretty high on LA. And yeah, I prefer, if you're going to bet them, just sticking with the cup number, because I actually think they're a much more complete team than, some people seem to believe. And I think they have some specific advantages compared to other Western Conference contenders, which we'll get into. But I look at that blue line. I think it's, top to bottom, one of the best blue lines in the league. And they've looked a lot better offensively now that Byfield and Fiala are going the way they are. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they don't quite have the same star power as some other true contenders like the Avs and obviously the Oilers, but I think there are some strengths that will make them a really tough out. And as you touched on, the difference of adding Kemper just is so significant compared to what we've seen the previous years. So, they've played the Oilers pretty respectably the last couple of years. There's been a couple of big moments in each series that the Oilers needed to go their way. And I feel like they're pretty live to give the Oilers a good fight in round 1.
Yeah, one bet that I'll be looking for. Obviously, something that's not going to be available until game lines are posted. But I've played this a lot here, especially the last 2 games between the Kings and Oilers. Is Adrian Kempe to go over 2.5 shots on goal. He's registered 3 or more shots in 15 of his last 21 games. I'm not counting that game that he left early due to personal reasons. I mean, he only played like 13 minutes or something. But in this matchup specifically, he's had 3 or more shots in 13 of his last 16 regular season games versus the Oilers, including 8 in a row with 3 or more shots. And he's gone over the 2.5 shots on goal total in 17 out of 18 playoff games against the Oilers. So I think he's going to be somebody that's counted on to get pucks on net for this Kings team in this first round series. And I think that's going to be a solid play going into this one.
Yeah, he's been unreal in the playoffs too, which I guess basically, like you said, is just playing the Oilers for him. But he's looked like a complete gamer. He's had some huge goals in all of those series and has been one of the big reasons that they have been as close as they are. So yeah, I like that one. I think we'll see Kempe have a good series for sure.
The matchup that you do have a little bit more interest in, and you've talked about this one a lot over the last few weeks, the Colorado Avalanche versus the Dallas Stars, a rematch of last year's second round series where Dallas won in 6 games. The Stars were a minus 125 favorite in that matchup, but they are a minus 105 underdog, slight underdog heading into this one. The Avalanche listed as a minus 115 series favorite. We know Miro Heiskanen has been ruled out for game 1. But the team has said that they hope that he can return later in the series. And we also know that Gabriel Landeskog was recalled from his conditioning stint with the Colorado Eagles of the AHL. He played 2 games, scored a goal and an assist. So also signs point to him being ready for game 1 for the Avalanche. I guess, for me, the big concern here is just how bad Dallas has been on defense and just how little they've controlled play over the last couple of months. They ranked 31st in 5-on-5 expected goals against per 60 minutes, according to Evolving Hockey, going back to February 1st, and only 4 teams have allowed more shot attempts. And as a result, the Stars have posted the 5th worst shot share at 5-on-5 since the start of February. And I think if that continues into the playoffs, then we can look to the Avalanche to control the bulk of the play in this series.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I liked the Stars in the series last year. I think they were what I gave out as my best bet in the round 2 series lines. But I think things have definitely changed because, we've talked about a lot. The Stars blue line looks terrible. They're terrible at defending the rush. They can't move the puck out. And with Heiskanen already confirmed to miss 1 game, it's going to remain a pretty major issue because I think Harley and Lindell have done all that they can possibly do, but the other 4 bodies just simply aren't good. People were surprised when they traded for Cody Ceci. He's not found it at all. He's been awful. Matt Dumba is in the exact same boat. People were surprised the Stars valued him, and he's kind of proved all the naysayers right. And then, home ice obviously factoring into this a bit, but looking at last year's series in specific, road teams went 5-1 in this series. So not really concerned that that's probably being priced in as well. So I think there's a lot to like about the Avs right now. Who've been one of the very best teams since the trade deadline. I feel like the Stars should have ended up being a full-blown wagon entering the playoffs here. And it's just crippling to them that they have these few blue liners that are so far below average that don't really need to be there. Everything else about this team build is pretty flawless, and they're kind of just shooting themselves in the foot there. So maybe they'll find a way to figure it out to some extent, but it feels like we're kind of past the point here of the team becoming aware that they're playing awful defense and trying to figure it out. And still we're seeing the exact same results. So this has been, like you said, over a month of play where I feel like they've really, really struggled defensively. You can see it, and the numbers really reflect it as well. And it's basically just been on a nightly basis where they're giving up so many high quality looks. So yeah, I mean, they have the goaltending and the offensive upside to make it a series still, but I do think that minus 115 is a pretty great price for Colorado to win this series.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. We talked about how much you like the LA Kings, but you have some interest in the Kraken on the money line tonight.
Yeah, I do. This one's just kind of a spot thing. We'll see, who the Kings ultimately end up playing. I don't really see why anyone should be there, but either way, I don't mind it as a spot for the Kraken. We've talked about how they've kind of played out the stretch respectably. They had that big win over the Blues on Saturday. in a game where I think everyone thought the Blues would probably run away with it quite comfortably. And I still feel like when they get decent goaltending, this isn't that bad of a team. There's definitely a lack of high-end offensive talent, but all in all, I'm not that low on them. And it's one where right now they're at even money. I don't hate that, with the Kings playing back-to-back and having nothing to play for. Well, the Kraken will probably want to go out with a pretty respectable effort on home ice, right? But I think there's a pretty good chance that you see the Kings play very few of their key pieces here, and we end up with a really good price at even money.
Yeah, I would assume that the Kings will proceed with caution after last night's game in Edmonton, which was a pretty rough one. Still no update on Quentin Byfield. It does look like Darnell Nurse is going to receive a hearing. Not sure if that's over the phone or in person. I'm guessing it's over the phone, but certainly what looked like a suspendable play.
Yeah, in that moment, that's kind of scummy, I'd say, for sure.
Yeah.
And the other note I should pack into, regardless of who the Kings rest, it should be Rittich in goal. And he's been, pretty awful as expected this year, a lot worse than Kemper. So that in particular would be absolutely shocking if it was Kemper in this game.
Yeah. Obviously it's tough with so many lineup question marks, but anything you're looking toward tomorrow for?
I hadn't even looked at tomorrow. I was still trying to, figure out all these things today. And I like the bets that we have today. I think this stretch run, I feel it's been going pretty decent the last, now that we're getting into these rest games. And I like what we have. It looks like odds makers. I think the one that's, worth touching on, the Canes are minus 135 in Montreal in what could be a game that, everyone's really eager to watch. And I think it would suck to see if Columbus, wins tonight, gets on this 5-game heater, and it comes down to Carolina's B squad needing to win.
Yeah.
It is game 81 for the Canes, though. So maybe, they play some guys. I was kind of surprised they played who they did over the weekend in a back-to-back spot because they're locked into that second spot there. But I don't know. It wouldn't be shocking to see Rod Brind'Amour just roll everyone and say, hey, this is a great tune-up game. We've got, a meaningful opponent trying to get in. So I definitely hope that is the case. If the Blue Jackets do pull off the regulation win, I'd love to see Montreal have to actually beat the top Carolina lineup and then, keep things interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess there's no better time to make an announcement that this is my last show here on the DFO Fantasy and Betting YouTube channel. I am moving on to other things. I'm giving the sports media stuff a rest, maybe for good, but it's time to move on to something else. And as a result, I'm done here at the end of the regular season, so I won't be guiding you through the playoffs. But hope you've enjoyed my content here on the Nation Network, and it's been fun. The whole thing has been fun. I've got to do some pretty cool things over the last 5-6 years, and it's been a trip. Great experience. Obviously, being part of the Hockey Night in Canada crew for an entire playoff run was once in a lifetime experience that a lot of people would love to have, and only a very few people get to have. So I'm gonna always look back fondly at those times, and it's been a fun run and something I'll always remember. But just at a different point in my life now, where I think now's the time to make the jump to something else, and feeling pretty good about it. But I appreciate hell of a run.
My time with you, learned a lot, and I hope you're ultimately very happy with this decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotta do what you gotta do, man. And I'm content. I don't think I think I left it all out on the ice. But yeah, it's been a fun run. So I guess for me anyway, not sure what the future will hold for betting shows here on the DFO Fantasy and Betting YouTube channel. But I just want to thank you, Nick, for being a part of this as long as you have, and of course Jake for producing the show and keeping us in line all the time. He's been a big help to me since I started at Better Collective almost 2 years ago. And yeah, just want to sign off for one last time and say good luck with your bets and gamble responsibly. Thanks.